Right, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. I thought today I would show you some bad bits and some good bits. So I was thinking I'll do a video on just showing you what's doing really terrible at the moment. But then I thought it might be a bit overpowering, so I'll end it with some good bits. So I'll show you like 3 of my plants that are doing terribly and talk about why. I'll talk about them, and then we'll go over maybe 3 or 4 of my plants that are doing nicely. Not that anyone cares, but I painted my room. It probably doesn't look any different, but it's actually like a really light grey now. You can't really tell in this lighting because it's night time. And I've cleared the desk here, is gone, and I've cleared the window, so I've actually got a window that I can open and close. Imagine. And I've now got a racking system over there. I'll show you guys in a different video, but yeah, there's no point in me explaining it here because I'm not going to show you anyway. So yeah, I thought I'd show you what's doing bad. I'm not really sure why. I just thought it'd be interesting because I feel like a lot of the time my plant collection changes and I don't tell you why. Like I'll update you, be like, there'll be like a plant tour and you'll see loads of plants, and then the next plant tour loads will be gone, and like it's never really explained. So I'm kind of showing you what could potentially not be in my next plant update. Yeah, a couple of them are on their way out. I'll start with my Alocasia poly. It's also known as Alocasia amazonica. I think so. It's still healthy. It's just not as healthy as it was. And this, yeah, we've got like some burning on the top of this leaf here, and then you can see like the yellow, yeah, starting to go a bit yellow. So that leaf's not got very long. And actually one of the leaves that is newer than that did just rot off. You see this here? Yeah, that's squishy, and that's not a good sign. It still looks pretty. This leaf looks pretty, and this leaf's actually one of the oldest leaves, and it's got like burning on it, but that was from right early on. Like when I first got it, I put it under my grow light and it burnt, so I took it out from under the grow light and then it did fine. But I've given it a water. You can see the pot is a little bit wet because I just watered it today. I think the problem is, well, I'm not really sure. I've been watering it and then letting it almost dry out and then watering it again. So I've not been letting it get too dry, but I've not been keeping it moist all the time. So if any of you guys have more experience with these, because this is the first one of these I've ever owned, definitely let me know. And at the moment I'm keeping it in indirect light, so not directly under a grow light. It's kind of off to the side, so it gets relatively bright light. Like it gets a good amount of light, but just not enough to burn it. Basically, that's what I've been aiming for. I haven't transplanted it out of its nursery pot yet, but I kind of don't want to, and that's not the reason it's going bad. So yeah, if you guys do have any advice or tips on how you keep your ones of these, your Alocasia poly, definitely let me know. But I don't have high hopes for this guy, only because the center is so squishy. If it wasn't wet and squishy in the center, I'd be a bit more confident, but I just know that plants that have corms that go squishy almost never come back. so enjoy it while it lasts. Look how pretty that is. I'm hopeful, but keeping you guys informed. Right, next up is actually one that was doing terribly and is now doing a lot better, but I wanted to show you guys it because it still looks terrible, but if you guys saw what it looked like before, you'd really appreciate how far it's come. And this is my Calathea macayana. A lot of the leaves, this basically died down to, it died down to the surface of the soil. And this was, if you guys remember, this was in one of my terrariums a very, very long time ago. And I took it out of the, well, I left it in there, I left it in there until it looked like it was almost dead, and then pulled it out and thought, no, I don't want to lose that because it's a really pretty plant and it's my only Calathea. Yeah, it is my only Calathea. So I didn't want to lose it, and I thought, no, Jerry, don't waste that plant. Try and save it. And it's in this planter. I got this for Christmas for last year from my parents. And the light, when the light shines on it, you really can't see it as well. But how cute! Like, that's just like quirky, fun plant pot. Yeah. Anyway, back to the plant. It's doing really good. It's got a nice new leaf coming up. Just in the center there, you can see. Yeah, there you go. And it doesn't look all that, but it is doing so much better than it was. I know I've spoke to Laura, I really don't know how to pronounce that, about caring for these, and she's advised not using tap water, just use rainwater or like demineralized water or that sort of thing. I haven't been I haven't been doing that. I've just been using I've been using tap water. I've been using rainwater when I can. Oh wow, the leaves are like really red underneath. It like looks green from one angle and then looks, I don't mean from one side, like I understand why it's green on top, but I mean from this angle. It's really not, oh that's well pretty, the underside of those leaves. Yeah, I've been using rainwater as and when I have it, but I kind of haven't been collecting the rainwater from my water butt because some figs fell onto the roof that drain into that, and you can imagine the smell. It smells like fermented fruit in there, so I'm not using that water. I need to clear it out in order to get some new fresh rainwater. But I promise you, he's doing so much better than he was, so please don't attack me. I'm joking. No, but it's looking really good. So that's like a kind of negative and positive at the same time. The next one is like a complete negative, so prepare yourselves. So, as you guys know, I am trying to be a really big Begonia fan. I am a massive Begonia fan. Love begonias, and a lot of the begonias that I've purchased, I've bought them online as plug plants, and unfortunately this one's just doing terribly. This is the Begonia Connie Boswell, and it was one of my absolute favourites, but I moved it, so when did I move it? I moved it when I had to move a lot of my plant collection from this side. This was under the grow light, and when it was under the grow light it was loving life, it was doing really well. And then I moved it into a darker part of my room, and because it was in a darker part of the room that was a little bit cooler and out of direct light, the soil wasn't drying out so quick. This still looks like this is gonna come back potentially. And it just really didn't like moving, and it was too wet for too long, and it just hated it. It just really struggled. And as you can see, this leaf is still alive. I was gonna say it's still okay, but like it's still alive. This leaf is completely crisping up, and it's gonna fall off like any second, so I could probably just take that off. And the thing is, it did have some new growing points, but they've also dried up, so I'm thinking this one's just gonna have to go. I'll hold on to it and see what I can do. There is actually a new growth point at the bottom, so I'll try to save it because I do really like it. But it's just, when plants look like this, it's a lot easier to clear your mind by just being like, no, get rid. But I'll try to save it. I think if I had more space in here, and if I had like an area that I could dedicate to rescuing plants, I say that my whole room is basically rescuing plants. No, if I had the space, I would definitely make a bit more effort to save this, but it's still relatively heavy. The surface is not wet, you can see the surface, but it's in the little pellet tray. Pellet tray? No. Pellet, the little bag, it's in the little bag still, and that was where I went wrong, like initially. But Connie Boswell Begonia looking absolutely tragic. Right, so that's 3 of my negatives. Nothing else is looking particularly bad that you haven't seen already recently. So yeah, nothing's looking particularly bad. So I'll go on to some positives now. We'll end it off with some positives. So my first one is my Philodendron varicosum, which is just doing amazing. This this is the original leaf that it was sent to me with. Emma Greenwood sent this cutting to me in a plant trade, and it just had this leaf to begin with, and so it's still doing really well, that leaf. And then its new leaf here has come in, and that is looking amazing. And I was a bit worried about, oh, and we've got a new leaf coming up, and it's coming up really quick. I was a bit worried about taking this out of the propagator because this was in a heated propagator where it was really humid in there. You guys would have seen that propagator on my channel. And I took it out there thinking, oh, it may struggle because the change in humidity is going to be a bit insane. But I just went for the plunge, and it's doing absolutely fine, and I'm so glad. But in England it's relatively humid anyway the majority of the time, especially today. It's like super foggy outside, so it's like I wouldn't be surprised if it was almost 100% humidity out there. But yeah, I think that was kind of the saviour. But doesn't that look amazing? Just that green almost looks like electric green, if electric green is actually a thing. But this is potted in just sphagnum moss at the moment, and I do want to change it up because I want to get a bit more nutrients in there. So I want to put in some multi-purpose compost. I may start feeding it with some like nitrogen fertilizer, something that's higher in nitrogen, because it will get the green growth growing really good. Yeah, and the node there is growing so many roots, so I'm so tempted to see if I can kind of get that to root a lot more in. So maybe try to like plant it at an angle to see if I can get that to root a bit more, just to build a better established root system. But yeah, that is like a super positive in my collection. I'm loving that right now, and the fact that it's seeming really easy care is an absolute bonus, because I don't really do anything with this now. Obviously I just water it when it gets a bit dry, but it seems to really be enjoying it. And it's currently, I don't keep it directly under the grow light, I keep it kind of off to the side, so it's getting bright light but not direct from the grow light, so that is all good. Yeah, really happy with that one. So my second plant that's growing really good is my Sansevieria whalefin. This has put on quite a lot of growth. As you can see, these two leaves here are brand new. Well, brand new, they've been growing for a few months, like a lot of months actually. I feel like this year's just flown over, that we can consider the whole of 2020 as just 1 month. That I feel like we've, yeah, I won't go into it, but that is it's looking good. Like, I'm glad it's growing, but I guess it looks a bit messier than it did, but it's growing really nicely, and I could always just take cuttings, like, because this leaf is bothering me where it's just like zooming straight out, whereas this leaf is nice and uniform. He's like growing nice and, you know, staying within the radius of his pot, whereas he's just off on a tangent. So I could always just chomp him off. I won't, because I don't want a second one, but I could. Yeah, I could. But this is just doing really good. I do still love it as like a single leaf. If you kind of hide that, that looks so good. But it's grown really well, and I haven't updated you on that one in such a long time, so I thought I'd show you that one. Doing really well. It's just this one this one does actually stay directly under my grow light. I don't put it directly under my grow light for any particular purpose. It's just all my Sansevierias are directly under there. Well, yeah, I do have a purpose. My purpose is that although they grow really well in, or they survive really well in very low light areas, they're going to do better the more light you can give them. So that's why I've been keeping my Sansevierias under my grow light, because I really like my Sansevieria collection, and I want them to grow as quick as they can. So I give them as much light as I can, and they love it, and this is what happens when you do so. And I'll finish off with my other, this is going to be another 2 Sansevierias, but it's just because you've seen the majority of my other plants recently, and there's one there. Yeah, and I thought I'd update you with my Sansevierias quickly. Right, so this is, as you guys know, this is my Sansevieria Silver Flame, and it has absolutely grown like crazy. That is probably its nicest angle. Actually, let's twist it and we can see. That's a pretty nice, oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a really nice angle as well. This has got 3 pups. I don't think they can be considered pups anymore because they are pretty mature. but it's just doing so nicely, and I'm so always happy with this plant, like always. I haven't transplanted it since the first time. I let this dry out completely and leave it for 3 weeks, 2 weeks before watering it again, and it's absolutely fine. Yeah, it's doing really well. What I've noticed with this Sansevieria is that the actual centre, the main plant, I don't know how well you can see where the main plant is, that's the main plant in the centre. That hasn't popped much growth on at all. Like, it's had the same baby leaf coming up in there. You can just about see that. It's had the same baby leaf coming up in there for months and months, literally almost a year. So it's definitely focusing the majority of its growth on the pups, which is happy. Like, I'm happy about that. No problem at all. I would like to see a bit more growth in the centre, but that is like the perfect size at the moment. I think if it just stayed that size forever, I'd be perfectly happy. But I would like to divide it up and, you know, have a few more. But I just think that is such a amazing plant, and this always gets a lot of really good attention when I put him in my videos. So yeah, he's doing good. The only thing I don't like about this, and I don't really know why, I can only assume pest damage, but then this has never had any pests. This, you see that right there, this new leaf has come up and he's got all those of scratches, and they're not scratches, they're just imperfections. He's just, I don't really know what's gone on there. But yeah, that's the only negative I have about this plant. Everything else is perfectly amazing, and people ask me quite often if I shine these leaves. The only thing I've ever done, and I think I've only done it twice, is I'll get a wet piece of tissue or a wet flannel, like a cloth, and then I'll wipe the dust off. That's all I'll do, and I've literally done that twice in the almost 2 years that I've had it. So I don't use any chemicals. I'm not sure, I can't, yeah, I did actually. I used Osmocote pellets when I transplanted it, which is a slow release fertilizer, but apparently, according to the package, they only last 6 months. So that's the only fertilizer this has ever had. I don't think I've ever, I may have sometimes given it a bit of orchid fertilizer when I'm just going around feeding everything with my orchid fertilizer, but that would have only been maybe once every 2 months, so not enough to really spur on a lot of growth. But other than that, I've never done anything more than that, and it's doing really well. And let me see if there's any roots coming out the bottom, because do we have any roots? Oh yeah, there's one little root. Oh, 2. Oh yeah, there are a few. Nothing extraordinary. I watered this yesterday, so if you're wondering if the bottom looked wet, it is wet, but I watered this yesterday. So yeah, he's still a little bit damp, but that one is looking really good. The next one is going to be my my moonshine Sansevieria. I always get confused because when I think of moon, I think it should be silver something, but it's not, it's moonshine. Let me grab it, because this one has grown massively, and it's got to the point where it just looks like a shrub. I'll just grab it 1 sec. Right, so this has grown, doubled in size, and it's looking really, it's looking good, but too big, I think. Well, I don't know, I'll let you guys be the judge. So if you guys remember, this is the exact one that I did that video on, where I bought it and it was planted in just that horrible coir, like really compact coir, and the root system was rotting. I was taking it out of its pot and the roots were all falling off. And you guys can go watch that video. I think I named it something weird, like Sansevieria disaster or something weird. But this has grown like crazy, and like it would not look like this at all if I didn't transplant it on that day. So I'm really glad I did. And again, it's in the same size pot as the moonshine, as the silver flame. And this one just looks a million times bigger than the silver. It is a million times. Let me hold them next to each other and I'll show you guys. But these were like the same size as each other when I first got them. But it's getting so big. It's like, I finally have like mature plants in my collection. This is well cool. Yeah, so this one, like, I really love the colour of the new foliage that comes through. It's this really pale green colour. And sorry, there's notifications coming up on my phone. and I don't so much, no, I do still love this green on the outside. The more mature leaves turn a little bit darker and you start to see the lines in them. I have been considering whether this is actually a moonshine, because it was never labelled a moonshine. I just identified it as a moonshine. But there's another one called, someone mentioned it to me recently on Instagram. It was called was it called Night Shine? No. Day Shine? I don't know. It was called something different but very similar. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure now. If you guys don't think this is moonshine, let me know, because I'm definitely interested. But it's doing lovely, really well actually, and all of the central growth is doing really well, and it's growing. I love how tall it's growing, and it's just, I look really small next to it, but like, I'd say it's about 2 feet, about 1.5 foot tall, 1.5 to 2 feet, 1.5 foot, I reckon, something like that, roughly. Yeah, and I could definitely divide this. I'm not going to divide them because I don't want them to take up more space than this. It already takes up a very big part of my like under my grow light anyway. Yeah, but I keep this directly under my grow light, and it stayed under my it stayed there since I transplanted it, so since I bought it. And I think that's definitely one of the reasons it's grown so well. If I try and face it towards you from the top so you can get like a bird's eye view, as long as it doesn't tip soil anywhere, just so you can kind of get an idea of how dense that is in there, literally. Yeah, so I can't believe how much that's grown. I took it out of my room yesterday because I painted my room, and I saw it on the table downstairs, and I was like, whoa, that's massive. I didn't realise it because it's always been right in the corner under the grow light. But yeah, we'll definitely end there on that one. That one is so cool, love it. I may do an update Sansevieria collection soon, but these 3 that I've just shown you, or these 2 that I've just shown you, the last 2 are definitely the most impressive ones out of my Sansevieria collection, I think. Yeah. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that, and I thought I was going to do it, like I said, I was going to do it as just negatives, but then I thought, no, I don't want to, it doesn't feel right just doing negatives, so I thought I'd end on some positives as well. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. It's 23 minutes, it was a bit longer than I was expecting, but I'm glad I did that. Yeah, and if you've got any tips on my plants that are looking terrible, yeah, so just please let me know any advice, any tips, any tricks. If you guys have those plants and yours are doing really well, definitely let me know. And I will be trying to save them, I promise. Yeah, so I'll see you guys in my next video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave a like and a thumbs up. They're the same thing. Leave a like, thumbs up. What's it called now? Leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more. And I'll see you guys in my next video.